Everybody, know where I am today? I've always wanted to stop here because I ride my bike by all the time. If you listen, it's kind of a clue. Let's give you a little quiet time here. Can you hear that? So that's the interstate freeway, right? But I love this cornfield. See the cornfield there? I go by there and you see the rows, and the first stalks that you see are planted that way, but the other ones are planted this way, so you can look down the rows. I always think it's beautiful. It's usually too windy, but it's a nice calm day today. A little chilly, it's in the 50s. So I got my long sleever on today. I don't know if I explained, I think I had this shirt on once before, but I'm not sure I explained it. This is Gallo Cerveza. I think that means mineral water. Just kidding. It means beer. But it's the big beer in Guatemala. So 15 years ago, plus some months, I went to Guatemala and El Salvador on a pilgrimage. It wasn't a service trip. It was a pilgrimage. And it was fantastic. Thanks to John Williams and Jane Reddick for encouraging me to go back then. But we went to the places of the Martyrs. There were a lot of missionary men and women who were killed because the government saw them as a threat because they were trying to empower the poor and to bring more like democratic values to those countries instead of just a few people kind of running everything with their money and power and control of the army, And so in both those countries, there are a lot of people killed, and it's still not the most stable place in the world, That's where Oscar Romero was, so we saw where Oscar Romero was shot at El Salvador, and that was really, talk about an awesome experience. Not happy, pleasant, but awesome as far as awe-inspiring to stand at the altar where he was shot and killed in 1980. And we went to Guatemala, where Saint now? Is he canonized? Anyway, Stanley Rother, who was a priest from Oklahoma, was killed and shot in his apartment there on the shores of Lake Atitlan. So it was a sober trip. It was really a beautiful trip, showing the courage of the martyrs. And you come back from something like that wanting to be a little more courageous yourself in your fidelity to Christ and his values, right? By the way, if any of that interests you, Father Lindner in St. Anne's in Wausau, I'm not sure if he filled it up yet or not, but he said he had a few seats left. So late January, early February, something like that, he's going to go to, he's been there several times, so he'd be a good guy to go with. Just to Guatemala, I don't think El Salvador. It would be a lovely trip, be a very meaningful trip. Let me know, and I can let him know if you're interested in that. With a similar focus to go visit where Stanley Rother was killed, and to see the people there and some of the good work with like coffee co-ops and things like that. Anyway, so that's good. So I am on Kane Road. So if you leave St. James and you go to the west side Culvers, that's Folsom Street. Then you keep going west until it tees, till you can't go any farther west, and then you turn left, and that's Kane Road, or right. And you turn right, you go to the golf courses, Wild Ridge and Mill Run. If you go left, you're about where I am. So, nice place. Oh, look at this. Is this called a... Where'd it go? See it? Yeah. Those are the harmless spiders. I like those. Though I'll tell you what, I get bites at night. And I think they're spider bites. And the effects of them last a long time. So I'd love to get rid of those spiders. I put little sticky strips by the side of my bed and hoping they'll get stuck there. And some do, but I don't know. I got bit like here 2 months ago, and I still have like a pinprick and a little rash. It's crazy. So you needed to hear that, right? while I'm in kind of show and tell mode, before we get to parish news, it's one of my favorite crosses. I picked this up in Jerusalem on the Via Dolorosa on the way of the cross. There's a group called the Little Sisters of Jesus. It's right next to the 6th station. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. And you can go into a chapel there, but they also have a lovely gift shop with these icons that they make. And I got this, and I showed it to my mom when I got back. This was like, I don't know, 2010 or 2008. I don't remember when I got it. But unfortunately, I dropped it, so it's a little nicked up here, but it's okay. I don't suppose the cross should be too pristine, given what it signifies. The suffering, and carrying the cross, ugly day. But it also, like the Martyrs, a day of courage. I did not think this road was so darn busy. Maybe you can hear me okay, right? Someone said when I did the ballpark talk that I would pause because the music between innings was so loud that I didn't think you could hear me, but they said you could hear you fine. So anyway, I love this cross because I always think, to quote John Sabrino, without the resurrection, the cross would have no power. But he also says without the cross, that power would not be love. But so I like to mix the cross and resurrection. And so this is a cross, but it all has scenes of the resurrection. So this is not Jesus. He has a halo, but it's not Jesus. It's like the person at the tomb, the angel or the man, depending on the verse, telling the women he's not here, he's been raised. Here is my favorite scene, Thomas touching the Jesus in the upper room. This is Mary Magdalene in the garden, Rabboni, and then he says, "Don't touch me." This is Jesus making fish on the shore of the Sea of Galilee after the resurrection. There's Peter. And this is the road to Emmaus when he breaks bread and they recognize him. I showed it to my mom, and she's not a materialistic person, never was. But she liked it, and she thought I gave it to her, so she kept it. I was going to bring it home, And then when she moved to memory care, it didn't go with her. Not because I snatched it, but it was in her things that she didn't take with her, and so I reclaimed it. I'm glad she had it. So I got a bunch of parish news. This morning we had a meeting. I say we, parishioners, not myself, but it was about 5-6 women. Men would certainly be welcome, but it's our grief group, and our grief group is excellent. It's a wonderful, welcoming group, and people that struggle with grief would maybe find it very helpful. Different people have different things that are helpful to them, but a fair amount of people have been helped by that group. And there's two, Christy and Pat, I think, are kind of the two head honchos, and have kind of stuck with it the whole time. And then other people come and go as needed, But I'm not sure if they meet once a month, or it's usually after a mass on a weekday. So know that we have that if you or someone you know are grieving and would like to have some support there. It's there for the taking. Okay. So just kind of rattle off some things. Parish bike ride this Sunday might be our last one. It's hard to say. But the 28th at noon, we'll meet it by the carport, 11th Street parking lot. Saturday night is trivia night, so that usually starts up at like 6 after Mass, after the Saturday Mass, downstairs in Rourke Hall, the newly refurbished Rourke Hall. So those are the things this weekend. Some coming attractions, pet blessing. So we do it usually the Wednesday nearest before the Feast of St. Francis. and that this year that Francis's feast is on October 4th, the Saturday. So we will have pet blessing Wednesday after school for any school parents that may want to bring their pets, and at 6 o'clock for any RE parents that might want to bring their pets when their children come for religious ed. And all parishioners are welcome. It's just those are two kind of handy times when the children will be kind of maybe at church anyway. I had no idea this road was so busy. I'm shocked, to be honest with you, because I ride my bike on it all the time. And I don't know where people are going. It's not a great, huge thoroughfare. Anyway, so pet blessing, and then also Feast of St. Francis. I couldn't find a shorter movie, but there's two pretty decent St. Francis movies. One, Francesco, that's like 2 hours, 20 minutes, Mickey Rourke. I liked it a lot when I saw it, older movie. Then there's one called God's Fool that I just watched to kind of preview it. And it looks at St. Francis's life in broad chunks for about 20 minutes, and then it flashes forward to New York City today and someone living a similar story and his conversion process. So I'm thinking of showing that latter one, because it's still 2 hours, but it's not 2.5 hours. But I'm open to persuasion, and that'll be Saturday after Mass on the 4th. Saturday after Mass on the 11th, we'll have our bonfire. Bonfire is not the word. Campfire fire pit. It has been used, so it's not like opening night, but it's sort of our inauguration of the fire pit. Elliot Munsinger's Eagle Scout project, and so I think they're able to gather, and I got a cube game we'll set up, and some bocce ball, something like that. But if you have a long game, bring it. And if you have hot dogs or marshmallows and a stick, there you go. Back it up a little bit. October 4th, John McCutcheon, really internationally known folk singer, but he's from Wausau, lives in Georgia now. He's coming up to Eau Claire for a concert, and we're going to host it at St. James, for heaven's sakes. So that's on the 4th, the Sunday, or the 5th, the Sunday at, I think it's 7. And it's also the night of one of the listening sessions for the town halls the diocese is sponsoring to tell us about maybe the future of the church, where we're heading, and to hear your input on that, so we can all together maybe determine where we're heading, giving the fewer people attending Mass throughout the diocese, and lower clergy numbers are two big factors that we'll talk about. But what does it mean to be a missionary church in these times? So that's what we'll hear. So the 5th at Regis High School, you got to register first, or the 6th at St. Olaf's. That's when I'm going to, Monday. So, we had, let's see, did I get them all? New fire pit, work hall, it's a lot, isn't it? Holy Land gifts, we're just gonna, in the next week or so, I'll order gifts from the L'Arche community in Bethlehem, from a gift shop owner in Bethlehem and a gift shop owner in Jerusalem, to help them out during these times of low tourism. I did not cancel the pilgrimage yet, however, the pilgrims, I have two that are still really eager to go, and we can't make that trip with like 3 people. So I didn't officially cancel it yet, but it doesn't seem like we will be going, for understandable reasons. We'd sure like to be able to go, of course, but So annual appeal kickoff will be this weekend, so we'll show a video. We'll probably do the shorter video, but the staff will look at both videos and see which one's best. Kids Mass today went really well. We had a new student named Evelyn, and she was all suited up to serve, and I didn't train her, so I was like, oh, you know how to serve? She's fantastic and adapted, because I'm sure, Mass from parish to parish is not the same, and she was good, and her partner Addison has been trained, and she's been doing it for a while, and she was good too. But so we had excellent altar servers, and in the beginning we talked about mercy. Mercy is a little abstract of a concept. I usually say, when you messed up and you need a new beginning, that's what we call mercy. When someone forgives you, gives you a fresh start. So let's remember our need for new beginnings. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. But this time the catalyst, I'm talking about mercy because the first reading was Ezra. So despondent and guilt-ridden at all that Israel had done that merited their exile for 70 years, stripped away from their temple, but then they're happy because they were, thanks to the mercy of Cyrus and Darius, the Persians, they were able to go back home and rebuild the temple. So I said, mercy. Anytime anyone's shown you mercy, and crickets, and nobody. And I said, well, let's see. Have you ever had to say you're sorry for anything? And then the great stories came out. Yeah, and I said, well, so the one kid said, I had a four-wheeler, that kind of wanted to sound a little important, right? I was driving a four-wheeler, and then I hit a fence, and it dented the fence and hurt and so I had to say I'm sorry to the guy, whose fence it was, and I said, oh, what did he do? Did he yell at you? He goes, no, he said, that's okay, accidents happen. And I said, oh, that's mercy. You'd experience mercy when he did that, because he got a new beginning. You weren't in trouble, right? It was mercy. And the kid's eyes just lit up like, oh, he got it. And another one said, I never know if their parents know, they tell these stories, but my mom and I fight a lot in the morning, she goes. And then we feel bad when she's driving me to school. So then we both apologize and we say, I'm sorry. And then we get a fresh start. I go, that's it. So you showed mercy to her and she showed mercy to you. Doesn't that feel great? Mercy feels great, doesn't it? So it does, when you receive it or when you're able to give it. So there were a few other examples, but I thought that was pretty good. And then there was the gospel was about Jesus sending the apostles out, and as I was telling them, apostle means to be sent. And without any money or a bag or any second shirt, etc. And I said, what do you think would be hardest about that? And the kid raised his hand. I said, well, if they close the door on you and you go hungry, you don't have anything to eat. I was like, oh, yeah. And other people said similar things. But they got right to it, that it's going to be vulnerable, it'll be hard, to be sent without anything and depending on people's goodness. And then I asked them, I said, well, what do you think helps? Well, why would they do that if it's going to be so hard and they risk going hungry? And the first couple said, because Jesus wants them to. Jesus is telling them to. And they trust Jesus. Isn't that great? And then I said, well, what's going to help them sustain, get through it? If people slam the door in their face, what's going to help them keep going instead of just going home? And one girl said, because they know that Jesus will be with them. So anyways, a great input from the children today. It was good. You just got to ask the right question, and I don't always do that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Parish news, I think. Some interesting stories I heard today. So the mayor of Lima, Peru, he went to the Vatican, and Pope Leo was in Peru for 20 years and loves it. He said in an interview, you'll always be an American kind of by identity. And then they asked him, well, if USA plays Peru in the World Cup, who are you going to root for? And who would answer? You'd always just say the offense, or he said, I'd root for Peru. I'd have to root for Peru. So I give him credit for just being his candor and his honesty, But so this mayor of Lima came, and he's sort of a controversial guy, and he was denied a individual. What do they call it when you actually meet the Pope face to face in his quarters? Personal audience, maybe they call it. But he could go to the regular audience and sit in the front row. And if you get front row tickets, then you also get a photo op. They come up and you shake the Pope's hand, you get a picture. And so you got that. And but then victims of sexual abuse by clergy. This guy is a layman, but he's associated with some groups that really. Were criminal, and what they sort of tried to cover up, and I don't know if support's the right word, but he's associated with this group is associated with people who victimized by sexual abuse children, and it's so awful. And there was something else too. So he's not really a guy of great reputation by the company he keeps and statements he's made, and. So, Pope Leo got wind of this and didn't really say Pope Leo kept himself at a distance. But the tickets got changed from front row to second row. So you can still you can still be there, but you're not going to have the photo op. Because the fear was this guy would use the photo op to sort of legitimize himself. He's running for parliament, where he maybe even be president. And the Pope didn't want to be used in that way, apparently, which makes sense to me. So anyway, that was just a little frivolous. It was an interesting little article I read. Awful news in Nigeria. Maybe you hear that the Christians are... people sometimes say Christians are persecuted here in the U.S. I don't see it. I don't know why I don't see it and other people do, but I've never had a problem being Christian here. And I'm a pretty public Christian because I'm a priest and all, but maybe that's been your experience, and I'm sorry. But in Nigeria, they kidnap you and they kill you if you're a Christian. And where was this now? Oh, I got two of the same things. Instead of 1, 2, 3, I have 1, 1, 2. At least I have some good stuff left. But I think they said this year, in the first 6 months of 2025, there were thousands. I mean, was it like 7,000 instances of violence, and many of them killed? And they, in 1 week, like last week or 2 weeks ago, they kidnapped 2 priests. And they demand a ransom, and they have a stated goal of wiping out Christianity, and that's a huge country, Nigeria. I think it's the most populous country in Africa, and I think one of these kidnappings was there. One might have been in Cameroon, or maybe that's just where the news office was, but keep them in prayer. Gaza, of course, is near to my heart and often in the news, but you don't always hear about Nigeria or Sudan. Gaza, they're still hanging in there at their parish. They celebrate Mass every day. I saw some videos on the pastor's Facebook page of children learning a song. I almost posted it. I couldn't figure out how to... I didn't want to post it on my page. I was going to put it on the parish page, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. But, I just heard all our children singing these beautiful songs in church this morning, and then I watched this... a man teaching these children how to sing in the parish, with all this violence around them, not knowing what each day will bring, if they'll get bombed or whatever, or worse. And it was just a song putting their trust in Mary. I thought, well, how beautiful is that? So life goes on. They had a birthday party for a child. They keep being church in the midst of a lot of reasons to be afraid. The bishop, how are you doing? 23? The Bishop of San Diego. There's a new bishop in San Diego. And his name is Michael Pham. P-H-A-M. And he's from Vietnam. He was a refugee in the 70s. He's about my age. He's a little older. But I think in 75, that's when so many refugees left Vietnam and came to the U.S. I had the numbers in this article, I forgot, but I saw this story on PBS, on the NewsHour last night. It's a Pope Leo's first American appointee for a bishop. And really interesting guy. He said he was 13 years old when they had to go to a refugee camp in Malaysia from Vietnam, and he just remembered that being sort of a turning point in his life, thinking his parents weren't with him, it was just his siblings. And he goes, well, I guess this is life now. I won't see my parents, and I'll have my siblings hopefully with me. And what a thing to ponder when you're 13. And it didn't say, I kind of assume he was reunited with his parents, but it didn't say. And then he, just some nice things about him. He said he got his first stop was Minnesota in the winter. And he said he got out in shorts and a t-shirt, and there was a bicycle he found. So he got on the bicycle and went for a ride outside. He'd never been near anything that cold in his life. He said, I stayed out for like 5 minutes and I was just freezing, so I had to come back inside. I hopped on and I was riding the bike. Within 5 minutes, it was so cold. Then he got a little more serious about things. He said, when I came and I grew up in the 80s, there was so much openness and welcome to me and to people that I had seen and known. Today, it's a challenge with immigrants and refugees. People look at you with different eyes, in a sense, how much they're willing to welcome you. he said, he takes clergy to the courthouse to stand with immigrants. They asked him what the teaching about the church was in immigration. He says, yeah, we acknowledge that the nations have a right to control their borders, but church teachers, everybody's got to be treated with dignity as a child of God, and I don't see that happening. And so he goes to the courthouse with other priests, and he kind of stands by these people when they're put them on trial to be deported. So anyway, I thought I had some interesting quotes there, but I don't think they made it. He said, all I wanted to be was a good priest, not a bishop, to serve God's people, to serve the people in our society today. And that's what I wanted the most, is to be part of people's lives. And it's so joyful and fun. I love that. So joyful and fun. On the way here, it was so joyful and fun because I was biking, and I was thinking for a second, I should have just taken a camera and it'd be quicker. But I took, Folsom. But then I ran into, he had his leaf blower at his driveway. Casey, he's one of our ushers and bulletin hander-outers. And I have my helmet on and sunglasses. But he recognized me. Hey, Father, hey, Casey. It's joyful and fun to be a pastor when you see your people out there doing stuff and they're happy to see you. Last, I just want to hold up and affirm Erika Kirk for her comments at the memorial service for her husband Charlie, who was murdered with an assassin's bullet. In times of stress like this, there's people that'll try to whip up anger and divide people more. And we have a lot of those voices, and they get a lot of press, and they get a lot of clicks on the internet. And there's other people that try to be peacemakers, And maybe, I bet you heard it all, but a lot of this is worth hearing again, I think. This is from a news article. With her own deep Christian faith on display, she bravely offered forgiveness to the shooter who killed Charlie, saying, "My husband Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. On the cross, our Savior said, 'Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.' That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it's what Christ did, and it's what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer, we know from the gospel, is love. Always love. Love for our enemies. Love for those who persecute us." God bless her in her grief. Unfortunately, her speech was followed by a much more less healing voice. So I choose to accentuate what is healing and good and brings good health to us and helps us live together well. I don't think I have anything else, really. Let you look at the good old farm here. My foot's asleep again. Whoa. So let's pray. Loving God, we thank you for the people that plant food and feed us. Pray for safety for the farmers during harvest season. Pray for an end of violence in our world. We pray for people who promote love of enemy, who promote being able to disagree without being angry or wanting to destroy. We're all different. We're quite a salad, humanity, and we're all your children, Lord. Help us to live that way. Give us the grace today to do something good that brings healing and peace to someone else. And knowing that maybe that starts with us, help us to receive your grace and love. Heal our wounds, that we can be healers for others. Thanks, everybody. God bless you.